another episode of SNP. I am Song, your NAI Events and Engagement Manager, and this is...
I'm Paul. I'm the NAI Deputy Director. Though I still don't have a badge that says Deputy on it. I think I need my Deputy badge.
We're gonna put that on your to-do list.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll make up some NAI branded deputy badges for all the deputy directors out there.
Awesome.
Song, we have a new segment here on S&P where we're just gonna, each episode, we're gonna check in with NAI's executive director, Milward Simpson, just to see what's going on in his world and what he's excited about. So let's bring in Milward Simpson, NAI executive director.
Hey, Song. Hey, Paul. How are you?
Hey.
All right, how are you doing?
Good, good.
Milward, we don't have a name for this segment yet, so we're just going to basically call it "What's Milward Excited About?" So, Milward, what are you excited about right now?
Oh man, I am excited about a lot of things, and I'm still concerned about a lot of things. So there's a lot that I've been thinking about. I'm really excited about our spring workshops. All of the regions are holding their workshops now through April. Something new this year, the board is going to be joining at the beginning of each of those workshops, and it'll be a great kind of chance for our board to interact with the various regions. And so I'm very excited about that. Really excited about InterpTech coming up in April. I think that's promises to be just a fantastic opportunity for interpreters to kind of boost their skills and their understanding of how they can use the latest in technology to enhance their work. And so that's certainly exciting, but it's still obviously a very challenging time. I was really kind of moved and struck by a lot of the conversation on InterpTalk here a couple of days ago. And it was a great opportunity for us to kind of talk about self-care. Like, what are we doing as a profession to make sure that we're attending to all of the stress that so many folks in our field are under? And I think a great word, and it's a great word today, is perseverance. We need to try to persevere. We need to take care of ourselves. I loved listening to all the ideas that kind of came up. Take some time to just enjoy things that you truly enjoy. Step away from work for a little while. People talked about their hobbies, photography and birding. But it's really important that people take care of themselves. The other reason I'm using perseverance is because today is a really exciting day for NASA. The Perseverance Mars rover is going to land today, and there's a lot of interpretive components to this. The great scientists at NASA are going to be providing interpretive talks and educational programs. You can actually stream the landing live. I think it starts at like 11:15 Pacific time. And so what a great name for that and particular rover, the Perseverance, because perseverance is something we need to be thinking about in our field right now. So lots to be excited about, and lots of things that we need to still take care of and be concerned and compassionate about. Last thing I'll mention that I'm most excited about, Black History Month. And I'm really excited that we have put out a call for Black interpreters to send in videos and talk to us about what Black History Month means to them, tell us about the work that they do and the places that they interpret. And I think some videos are already starting to come in. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing those and celebrating the central role that Black interpreters play in our profession. So that's what I'm excited about.
That's a lot of things to be excited about going on in the world and in NAI.
I have just made an executive decision here because, Milward, you love music. I love music. I mean, my name is Song. Hello. So I think you should close out your segment each time with a playlist. Give us a song.
Why don't you tell me yours?
Oh, Turnabout is fair play.
It totally is. I'm the executive director. You start.
I'm currently right now, actually it's on pause, but I am listening to a little Bob Marley today because I'm in Salt Lake and we got that snowstorm, and now then it went over the mountains over to you all in Fort Collins area. So yeah, I'm feeling a little islandy. I'm feeling a little reggae, so want to hear it?
Okay, that got me thinking. So Here's who I'm going to mention because he recently passed away and he was a giant in music and particularly in jazz and fusion, and that's the music of Chick Corea. One of the founders of fusion, one of the great jazz piano players of all time, and wrote wonderful, wonderful music like Spain, La Fiesta, Senor Mouse, Three Quartets. He is a huge loss, but he brought a lot of joy to the world with his music. Chick Corea.
Very nice.
Well, for me, my playlist is what it always is. It's Weird Al Yankovic and They Might Be Giants on ramp.
I'm a fan too.
All right. Well, Milward, hey, thank you. I love the segment. I love the excitement. What is Milward excited about? And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks,
All
Milward.
right. Enjoy the rest of your show.
See ya. Well, it is February and we have a happy Lunar New Year. It is the year of the ox. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day. Happy President's Day. Well, February is also Black History Month here in the United States and also actually in Canada and various other places. And we here at NAI, obviously Black history is world history, but February is a month where culture and contributions of African Americans take the center stage. So we've got a fun lineup here today. First and foremost, Paul, do you want to introduce our first guest?
I met James Allen in 2019 at NAI's national conference in Denver. And since then, I've had the pleasure of working with him. And in that time, he's become an award recipient from NAI. He's the Outstanding New Interpreter last year in 2020. As you know, Song, I am the editor of Legacy Magazine. And James has written now not 2, not 3, not 5, but 4 legacy articles. And they've been really well received. And so we're very pleased to have 2020 Outstanding New Interpreter James Allen joining us from Arkansas. James, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. In your legacy articles, you talk about an unexposed audience, and those articles have been very well received. Can you just tell us what you mean by unexposed audience?
Unexposed audience, that's a term that was coined by Superintendent Robin White of Little Rock Central High School National Historic Site. And I knew nothing of the term until when I first met her. And I pitched the idea of writing articles for Legacy about what I was talking about. And the first thing that she said, well, James, you don't realize it right now, but you're going to write a series of articles on this, and I would like for you to use my term, unexposed audience. And an exposed audience is I was a member of an unexposed audience initially. That's just a group of people who've never been exposed to nature, to the natural world, to interpretation. And more so when we use that term is for the inner city of people of color. Now, all races can be unexposed audiences, but the way that we used it was based on the history of this country when people of color were excluded from, attending parks and those types of areas. So that's the route that we took with it. So she was nice enough to allow me to use that term, and we just went forward with it, and that's what we wrote about. And I think my first 2 articles, I think the first article was so well received that it caught my surprise that I think between 8 and 10 people reached out to me. So that's when Paul said we need to do a part 2. So we did a part 2 of it, and it was well received also.
Right now, the message that you're bringing to interpretation and to NAI is really important for us. And I think that's true on a sort of national and a global scale, but in particular in the field of interpretation, addressing the topic of unexposed audiences, not just in terms of visitation, but within the profession itself. I think it's fair to say that Black people are underrepresented in the field. And so do you feel you know, the work that you're doing in terms of exposing that audience to both, you know, the things that we interpret and also the profession. Can you talk about the work that you're doing there?
Oh, yes, the work that I'm doing there is I've partnered with a lot of nonprofits, and what I mean by partnering is I'm volunteering with such agencies as Heifer International here in Little Rock, Arkansas. They do a lot of work across globally. They're just not local; they're global. I'm doing things as a volunteer interpreter with the Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission here. I played Black Santa Claus as an interpreter for an event that we had here for inner city families, and that was one of the greatest experiences that I've had as a young interpreter. I'm attempting to bring this way of life to Audubon, Arkansas, and just a bunch of other groups. There's so many that it'll take me too long to go into it. But what I'm doing is we're attempting to set up programs where inner city youth and people of color can see a person of color who's actually leading the interpretive hikes, who's actually leading interpretive tours, or who are actually teaching interpretation. Because the biggest thing is, this is something that I noticed. I would have gone into this field as a third or fourth grader had I seen a person who looked like me when I went on a field trip at Talltech Miles Archaeological State Park here in Scott, Arkansas. I remember everything from that day. But the one thing that I left with was not thinking that I could have been an interpreter, because all three of the interpreters were white. But that moment has always stayed in the back of my mind. And when I did my CIG training with Mr. J, President J Miller, but I call him Mr. J. That's a Southern thing. We put Mr. in front of the first names. That's when it dawned on me, why can't I be that bridge that I didn't have when I was a child? I had no idea what I would use interpretation for when I went into that training, because I didn't even know what it was. But I think the second day, I knew, okay, my goal from this point forward will be to expose children of color, people of color, and people in rural areas also to interpretation in the natural world. And luckily, I've been able to hit the ground running with such people as Dr. Teresa Coble. She allowed me to come and do a month-long internship at the High Desert Museum, and that's really what helped me hone my skills. That short month was so intensive that when I came back, I was ready to conquer the interpretive world. So hey, here we are.
So James, what would you say to younger brown and black kids or young adults who might be interested in getting in the field of interpretation?
What I would say is when you have to take a chance on yourself. Now, it's easier for me to say to take a chance on yourself because I started in this field older than most. But what I mean by take a chance on yourself, as I stated, I didn't know what being a certified interpretive guide was. I was in the midst of my training to become an Arkansas Master Naturalist. But something kept saying when saying, James, this certified interpretive guide thing, because I didn't know what it was, sounds interesting. It sounds like it's something that you could do along with your Arkansas Master Naturalist training. So after maybe 3 days of going back and forth and not having any money, because at the time, well, I'm disabled, so I don't have a lot of money, and I was looking at the price. But I said, man, you have to take a chance on this. Something good may come out of it. And I took that chance. I called Mr. J during the first day of training. I think they had been in training for like 45 minutes. I called him. He said, hey, we're only 45 minutes in. Get down here now. You sound like you're excited. Come. And I came and I took that chance. And 4 articles later, with Legacy Magazine, lots of trips, a trip to the National Convention in 2000, was that 19? Yes, to
Yeah.
that convention. The High Desert Museum trip that I spoke of earlier. Conventions around the state. It led to all of these things that I would never have been a part of had I not taken that chance and signed up for that certified interpretive guide training. So take a chance, and the chance that you should take should be with NAI.
Ah,
So because that is what catapulted me to where I am now. So if you invest in NAI, you're going to invest in yourself, because Mr. J put me aside and said, young man, if you take advantage of NAI, it can take you places, to some of these places that you stated that you've never seen before. He said, just take a chance. And I took that chance, and he was correct.
What do you think is your most important work as a Black interpreter?
My most important work as a Black interpreter is to let people of color know that Black people can be interpreters. I mean, this is a young field, so we have a chance to move forward in the correct path right now, being that it is young. I don't blame NAI for people of color and Blacks not being interpreters. It's just something that we don't do traditionally, because we weren't allowed to do the things in nature that I wrote about in my first two articles about unexposed audiences. So if you don't know about interpretation, how do you know you can become one? So with NAI, with interpretation being young, with people such as myself who are coming in and transitioning from other fields, I believe that we can get a lot of Black participation in this organization.
so as I mentioned, James, at the beginning of our conversation here, you won the Outstanding New Interpreter Award from NAI.
Oh, yeah.
We have one of those a year, so that's a big deal. Can you tell us, what winning that award has meant to you?
It meant a lot to me, considering the fact that I had just started in this field, maybe a year, or I had only been in this field for maybe a year. So to win that award as a young interpreter meant a lot to me, because I remember being at the award ceremony last year, and the young lady, I'm sorry, I knew her name, who won the previous year. I remember thinking, man, I would love to be on that stage 5 years from now with some type of award. So to be rewarded, to win that award a year later, just meant the world to me. And it let me know that I made the right decision to do the things that I'm doing now with the field of interpretation, especially for people of color, especially for unexposed audiences, and especially for individuals who didn't know much about the field. And it just let me know that NAI is where I need to be. But I was one award within the atmosphere of NAI to winning all of them. I want to win all the awards. This is what I'm trying to say. I know that it was hard for me to explain that. I know that may not happen, but I want to win every award that NAI has.
This was the first step in the NAI Grand Slam for James Allen.
That's what I'm trying to say. The first step in the NAI Grand Slam. So hopefully over the next 40 years, I can complete it and win them all.
Everybody watch out for him.
Yeah, for
Keep
sure.
your eye on James. He's a mover and a shaker. He's going to do some great things.
This is obviously it's February, it's Black History Month, but it's so important, I think, that we have these conversations all year round. Certainly hope that you'll keep writing for Legacy Magazine for us. I keep waiting for that next email to pop up with your next Legacy article proposal, and certainly I hope you'll join Song and me again on the S&P NAI podcast here, just to talk about the work that you're doing.
Oh, definitely.
You're doing great work, and we certainly appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you throughout the year.
All right, thank you. I enjoyed this talking. As I stated in my acceptance video, I'm not going anywhere. Can't wait to see you all in person again. So.
James, thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining us, and looking forward to talking to you throughout the year.
Oh, yes.
Well, Paul, this is a fun month for me and my family, because as you know, but I'm not sure that our other viewers know, I am adopted, and all of my 8 siblings, they're all Black.
Holy smokes. 8
Yeah.
siblings is a lot.
I know. So, last year, when the national conference was going to be held in St. Augustine, Florida, myself and the committee, we were, trucking along and visiting sites. And one of the places that we stopped was the American Beach. And the American Beach in Florida is just north of Jacksonville on Amelia Island. And it was founded in 1935 by Florida's first Black millionaire, Abraham Lincoln Lewis. And he owned the Afro-American Life Insurance Company. And he founded this beach area as a safe place where African-American families could come and vacation and visit. And so the shops around there were all Black owned. And it was just a really great vacation spot for people in that area. With the passage of the Civil Rights Act, people were able to vacation closer to their home. And so American Beach actually kind of shut down, or it really was no longer specifically for Black families or Black folks. So anyway, but I was able to stop in there and check it out and read some of the interpretive plaques there. And fun fact, there is a giant sand dune right in the heart of American Beach, and it has a name, and its name is Nana. So there you have it. There's my little Black cultural
Well,
for you.
I certainly love that story, and certainly your personal connection to it is really amazing. And yeah, thank you for sharing that song. So Song, we just finished last week, and it feels like a month ago now, our International Forum for Interpretation in the Americas. We had an amazing time working with our friends with Interpretation Canada and the Interpretive Guides Association in Canada, and also Interpat MX in Mexico. It was really an amazing multicultural experience, even though it was all done from our kitchens and our computers, where we had interpretation in 3 languages. We had presentations in 3 languages, live streamed or live simultaneous translation. It was really just amazing. For me, the Indigenous panel, where we had 5 Indigenous interpreters, one of whom did not speak English, all having a conversation together about the challenges and the issues that they face. What an amazing experience that was.
Yeah, it was really impactful, great content. For everybody who did register for the forum, those those session videos will be posted probably by next Monday. So stay tuned for an email on that. I thought that Rob Mallow from Manitoba, he gave his presentation in French, and it was probably the liveliest presentation at the forum.
Song, you did amazing work keeping us all on task and on schedule. And yeah, there was a lot going on in the background there. And as always, you made it seem seamless. So congratulations to you on your efforts with the International Conference. And but up next, Song, we are super excited about this.
Wait, one moment. First of all, 'tis the season for regional workshops. They're happening.
We are knee deep in regional workshop season right now.
Yeah. So go to the community, find your community workshop, your region workshop, under the events tab at interpnet.com.
Yep. Just go. All of the community workshops are listed under the link under events that says NAI Community Workshops. So,
yep. But then the next event, Paul, that's coming up, very exciting, InterpTech 2021.
We are super excited about InterpTech. Why we're like, this is as excited as I've been for an NAI event in a while. We're working with our friends Peter Ostrowski and Interpretive Unicorn Aaron Gates with California State Parks. And we already have 3 terrific speakers lined up for InterpTech, our 3 sort of featured speakers. Maybe you can tell us about Mike Lebecki.
So Mike Lebecki, he's a National Geographic filmmaker and explorer. So, and he's been all over the place. So I'm really excited to hear from him. He's got some amazing footage. That's always amazing to watch. You know, whether he's, you know, rappelling somewhere in Argentina, or he's climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, or he is kayaking in the Antarctic. Like, this dude's been everywhere. So really excited for his keynote. And then we also have Erin Gates, as you mentioned, interpretive unicorn from California State Parks. She'll be speaking with us. And Kiona Sinks, who is just a powerhouse in social media. And she does all of the digital marketing and social media for the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City.
Yes. Yeah. So speaking of the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City, on 2 occasions, I have been very lucky to speak with Bob Kendrick, who is the president of the museum, and just an amazing spokesperson for baseball, for Black history. And so it's an amazing story that they tell at the museum. They just celebrated the 100th anniversary of the founding of the first Negro League last year. So that has been all over. Major League Baseball did a commemoration in partnership with the Negro Leagues Museum. And so they've done an awful lot. And so we'll have Kiona on to talk about that during InterpTech. But right now, I'd like to share with you some of the conversation that I had with Bob Kendrick at the end of 2019. So this was before, obviously, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so Bob and I are in the museum at home plate at this amazing exhibit that they have, where they have 9 the 9 most famous, most successful Negro Leagues players at each position on a little miniature baseball field. So Bob and I are at home plate talking about the work that they do. And so I'd love to share some of that interview right now. When a visitor comes here, whether they're a baseball fan or not a baseball fan, or they're more interested in the cultural aspect, when a visitor comes here and they tour the museum, what is the story that you want them to leave with? What do you want them to think a year later after they've been here? What do they take away from this experience?
Well, I think they gain, number one, a significant historical perspective that they likely did not know prior to coming to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Mm-hmm. But as I oftentimes say, this story itself is America at her worst, but also America at her triumphant best. Because the story of the Negro Leagues could have only happened in America. So it is anchored in the ugliness of American segregation, which was certainly a horrible chapter in this country's history. But I think more importantly, what emerged out of segregation, this wonderful story of triumph and conquest. And again, it's all based on one small, simple principle. You won't let me play with you, I create my own. Yeah. And I think as people delve into this story and see how deep and layered it really is, this is not a baseball story. And even though it is a wonderful story that is part of the great story of the game of baseball, but this story is so much more profound than the game of baseball itself. And I think that is what ultimately people gain in this experience. I think they probably leave with a counter perspective than what they had in terms of their preconceived notion of what they were going to experience. Yeah. Because I think they think it's going to be sad and somber. Right. And it's just not. Yeah. And we treat it as if it is a celebration, because it is indeed just that. It is the celebration of the power of the human spirit to persevere and prevail. Yeah. Yeah. You won't let me play with you, I'll show you. Yeah. And that is that, to me, the American spirit. Yeah. And I think that this story embodies the American spirit, unlike any story in the annals of American history. Yeah, it is everything that America prides itself in being, because it is about pride. It's about passion, determination, courage, perseverance. Yeah, and that just refusal to accept the notion that you're unfit to do anything. So again, I'll show you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. As storytellers here, how do you balance some of that ugliness that you're describing with what I think, the few times that we've spoken,
you know, the message I've taken away is, gosh, this is a really a success story. You know, the story of the Negro Leagues is amazing to
Major
me.
success story.
And so how do you balance the sort of ugliness that I think people expect when they come here, and this positive success story that I think is a surprise to many people when they go through here for the first time?
Well,
How do you balance those two things?
You know, we try to put the story into the context of just what you're saying. So for every instance of adversity, there's always this counter kind of episode of how they move beyond the adversity. Because it's so easy to get lost in the adversity. And we try not to dwell on the adversity, but make the story more about what they did to overcome the adversity. And see, and that's the real story. Yeah, that's the real story. And it's a transcending kind of story. And I think that's probably the most eye-opening and awakening that people gain when they come here, because again, the focus is just not on adversity. Yeah, those elements are there, because you do have to set the stage. You want people to understand what that shameful time in American history was indeed like. But again, you want them to see how they rose above that. Yeah, they would not be defined by what others had kind of set their plight to be. And I think that's why this story is so powerful and so inspirational and so very compelling.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of SNP, powered by the National Association for Interpretation. Hit that subscribe button, register for your regional workshops, get registered and check out stuff for Interpretech, and have a super month. Stay warm, everybody.
Stay warm out there. Yeah, you're certainly in our thoughts. Everyone who is suffering from power outages or extreme temperatures, stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on S&P.